If I went too fast, I wouldn't get too far. I'd get pulled over and they'd have a look at my eyes. But then they'd let me go because of the casual way I try. I'm not feeling just as drugs in the car. I'm not feeling just as drugs in the car. I'm not feeling just as drugs in the car. I'm not feeling just as drugs in the car.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Church.
We're gonna wish we had drugs in the car here in a minute.
Church
is that not
is.
the perfect intro song for church?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, Church is not here because he's sans electricity, and I've gotten another tornado warning, so I could be sans electricity at any time.
Well, is Church doesn't have power a euphemism for Church is currently being chased by the PD because he's got drugs in the car? Is that what that means?
Well, no, because Church
he drives the speed limit.
Because he has drugs in the car. So Rune and I abused ourselves together for the show.
I abused myself first, and then I told Larry I was abusing myself, and Larry decided to elect to abuse himself when he didn't have to, which makes it more gay.
That's right. And we both watched the Batman the Caped Crusader cartoon. Have you seen images of this this abomination, Aaron?
I saw a couple people talking about it. I saw that they gave him a gun, which I'm so for.
They didn't. They fucking didn't.
What? I saw a screen cap where
it was bait and switch. It was a bait and switch.
I watched every episode of the season. He never wields a gun.
What the fuck is that screenshot from then?
It's a bait and switch.
More importantly, Larry, I want to congratulate you on salting the well. I mean, yes, you were going to shit talk it, but you've already told everyone how you feel.
But so let's talk about this. So first of all, there's race swaps, there's inappropriate lesbianism, there's a whole lot of dumb things that are current year politics.
They weren't race swaps. It just when they told the artist to draw a ginger, they didn't realize the artist was dyslexic.
Well, no. Because they drew the ginger's father as a black person. I mean, black person if you were imagining drawing Robert Downey Jr. playing black Jim Gordon.
Well, whatever South Seas sweatshop they used, they might have just thought they were really tan.
But we're going to put all of the normal suspect things of, inappropriate politics, the Penguin being Jim Sterling. We're going to put all of those on the shelf.
I didn't put that one together, but that's worse.
I mean, obviously, a fat, cabaret singing person with a top hat and a suit. Of course, it's Jim Sterling.
Well, see, here's the thing. In a novel thing, because this doesn't happen all the time, I took notes. So when we're ready for it, I have an episode by episode itemized list of what they fucked up.
That is how bad it is. Rune did homework. But we're going to start with a broad sort of overview of the problems. The art is all...
Wait a minute. They certainly started with a broader two, let me tell you.
So, all of the art is incredibly lazy.
Is it lazy or is it cheap?
All right. So,
why not both?
Serious comment. Let's clarify. For people who have not seen this show but are fans of Batman the Animated Series, while there are 7 or 8 producers, including J.J. Abrams, this is largely a Bruce Timm vehicle. And Bruce Timm, Batman the Animated Series, innovated a traditional animation style called Dark Deco, which is kind of a hybrid of classic 1930s, 1940s Warner Brothers animated techniques and a kind of timeless 1950s cartoonist technique. Okay. And in the subsequent new Batman Superman adventures, the Superman
Justice
show,
League.
Justice League, they
Justice
stuck
League
with
International.
they stuck with that, although they did switch from traditional painted content to digital draftsmanship
Because that was cheaper.
because it was cheap.
And this is why I say, was it lazy or cheap? Like, did they outsource
We-
it
we-
to
we-
South
no,
Korea
no.
because it was
Yes.
cheaper?
Yes, they
the
did that,
reason-
but we've not gotten there yet.
Yeah, the reason for all the clarification is to make clear that when we're talking about the art style being bad, it is a bad art style because whether they were cheap or whether they were lazy, they were trying to imitate Bruce Timm's style rather than actually work in Bruce Timm's style.
Which is shocking because Bruce Timm's creative partner and he were involved in the making of this cartoon.
Right. So throughout the entire review, I want people to keep in mind they've done this before and better with less, and this is still worse.
The voice acting is all universally bad. Most especially the Batman character. Because
Did they get
the
actual
Batman...
voice actors, or
They did, but the guy that they got to be Bruce Wayne and Batman is very clearly trying to be Kevin Conroy, may he rest in peace, badly. It's someone imitating a better voice actor badly.
So he's doing
can't do
Kevin
that.
Conroy's. So he's doing Kevin Conroy's Batman voice as Bruce Wayne, and doing Kevin Conroy as Batman, doing a Christian Bale impression as Batman.
Right.
what?
Now again, let's.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fair because I want to get all the reasonable commentary out of the way for our unreasonable criticism. It is not fair to judge any other voice actor by Kevin Conroy's excellence. The man was amazing. Okay.
But it's obvious he was imitating Kevin Conroy.
Right. And Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne had a very clearly different voice from his Batman, and brought
A very warm sort of voice.
right, a very rounded Bruce. He sounds like a guy you'd meet on the street. This is a Bruce Wayne who's talking like a grouchy teenager.
We're doing this shit
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Everybody else's voice acting is uninspired. It's just all bad.
It's not even that it's bad in the sense of, oh man, this was horribly recorded or badly done. It's just they recited their script. That's all they did. The emotional content isn't there.
Our reading of the Powerpuff Girls had more emotion and care behind it than
we were having fun. We gave a shit.
Yeah. Also, the sound effects for like things like opening the door and stuff were all pedestrian. There's nothing that was really compelling with the sound of things like that.
So they were like the clip art versions of sound.
Yes, basically. Except for maybe the Catwoman mobile. That sounded kind of cool.
Well, I mean, that they either were using actual animal roars or they just used a real hot rod engine, and it did sound pretty sweet.
The designs, in addition to the race swaps that we mentioned, that we're not going to get into as a criticism. So, Black Barbara Gordon is a Black Lucille Ball. It's obvious that she's a Black Lucille Ball, especially considering she is one of two thin women in the entire show. All the other women are obese. Which is ironic because Lucille Ball had serious problems maintaining weight for the Lucy show. Alfred is fat for some reason.
Mm.
And he wasn't like a thin Alfred when Master Bruce was young and he got fat from stress eating. He was fat the whole time as a former MI6 agent.
The one interesting bit that I found, you'll see that there's a link in our chat for let's talk about Cope.
Mhm.
There's a guy who went and found all the quote-unquote Easter egg references in this show. Apparently, some very early depictions of Alfred as a character in his own right, as an amateur detective, were a fat Alfred. So it may in fact be a referential appearance. That doesn't excuse a goddamn thing.
They're basically ripping off Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
You say like all the other female characters are obese, including Catwoman?
No, she's one of the two that's not obese.
Oh, okay.
Basically,
I was trying to picture a fat Catwoman, and it just wasn't working.
Basically, all the other women are built like
Ayrton,
linebackers.
Ayrton, haven't you ever heard of Persian Catwoman?
God damn it, Joe. The female characters have shoulders so wide, there are several scenes where you say, there's no way that woman can fit through that door.
Look, I'm gonna bring this up, but this is gonna be mentioned later. Officer Montoya, who is Chubbo, okay, claims to have been a figure skater, and
See,
she's thicker. And she's
that's just
thicker
realistic.
She's thicker than Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
Thicker than a bowl of oatmeal.
I don't know. That one I'm kind of okay with if she's a cop now and a former figure skater. I dated a figure skater,
right? But she ain't got no figure.
No, well, what I was gonna say is I dated a figure skater in high school for a little bit, and they notoriously have horrible eating disorders.
Oh, okay, sure, but
that's where I was going with that.
But here's the thing: she says she's a figure skater, and the only reason I can figure that it is true is because you're trying to figure out how she skated. It's a question for the ages.
But yeah, so every possible aspect of the production was bad.
Right.
Jim Gordon is a black man, just looks like Jim Gordon is a white man with black skin.
And the reason they did that is because the most recent Warner Brothers film, The Batman, has a black Jim Gordon. They need Jim Gordon to be black to make it edgy that he's a commissioner in Gotham, since they don't quite have the balls to try and push Commissioner Yindel.
So all of that is in there. Now, there's also things that are inappropriate historically. We're not talking about all the gay stuff, that there's open gay relationships.
I mean, we'll get to that.
In the vaguely 1940s, 1950s Batman era, they're referring to theories for psychology that were not popular in the United States until the 1970s. We have just all sorts of things that are just inappropriate thoughts. One things that we're going to talk about more when we get to the episode, Batman punches a guy for talking about his mom being killed. It's in the 1940s. If that happens, even if you're a poor person in the 1940s, the judge would have said, you know, son, you had it coming. Case dismissed. When you're Richie Rich Bruce Wayne, the patron of Gotham City, we're so sorry to force you to come to court, Mr. Wayne. Please accept the court's apology for wasting your time.
Hey, Mr. Wayne, how many times would you like this guy to fall down the stairs on the way to leaving?
Also, you remember, what's the big heavy-set policeman's name? I'm completely blanking on it. Bullock. Bullock from Batman the Animated Series was a scumbag with a heart of gold. In this version, he's just a crooked scumbag.
So, with that in mind, now that we've kind of given an overview of how awful this is, although I do want to mention one more thing, are we ready to get into the episodes?
Yes.
Okay, so as I walk through these, and we're gonna kind of dissect each episode, I want to say that there are points where this show actually could transcend its material and be really awesome. Okay? Warts and all, there are points where this could be really good. There are people involved in this who clearly have a sense of what they're doing. And every time they reach that event horizon, they sanded off the edges. They played it safe and you can tell, and it hurts. Okay? So, episode 1 sees Batman investigating a series of explosions and murders of various crime figures throughout the city, realizing that there is a secret gangland war going on. Okay? Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen this shit, and if you're watching this show, you knew that you were gonna hear this. It's Oswald Cobblepot on the Iceberg Lounge, which is a boat of a club.
No. Oswald Cobblepot.
Right. I was about to get that, but Oswald has been gender flipped to a female named Oswalda. Mind you, they didn't just give them a female name and then a hyphen and then Oswald Cobblepot like English families do, which would have been brilliant. No, it's Oswalda, a name I've never fucking heard. Okay, Oswalda Cobblepot.
That's like some French linguistic shit right there.
Yeah,
right.
and whose voice actor was not good for cabaret singing.
Right. So then
they could have brought somebody else in to do the singing parts, but they didn't.
So then they introduced the idea that she has 2 sons, 2 schemy little fucks, and I described this in my notes as a missed opportunity, because had they introduced a female Cobblepot and then had the Penguin be the son that looks like Oswald Cobblepot, that would have actually been genius. They could have bamboozled the people looking for grift right there. And they didn't. They played themselves. They went right into it.
In fact, if there was a guy to pick up the top hat, as it were, at the end of the episode, that would have been a stronger ending for the episode.
Yep. So, but we're not even up to the big one, because I think that in the zeal to get pissed about gender issues and racial issues and lesbianism, a lot of people have missed the forest for the trees. Let's talk about the
lesbians are all fake and gay.
Let's talk about the actual awful part of this episode. So, Oswald murders one of their sons. The other one turns states and is like...
Hold up. They murder their son because their arch rival says, "Oh yeah, somebody inside your organization told me to get out of the way of the thing you were doing to blow up my building."
Right, and we just believed it blindly.
Which is kind of dumb.
So, the surviving kid turns states to save his ass, and waits until the last minute to tell everyone, "Oh wait, my villainous supervillain mom has a literal mortar, a fucking World War I cannon on their boat, which is not in international waters, it's just in the Bay of Gotham, and has been firing it to blow up her opposition."
Also, here's the other thing.
Technically, though, Rune, because it was manufactured before 1986, that is totally legal to own without any additional paperwork.
Hold up. Here's the other thing. It was a mystery, quote unquote, what caused these explosions. A piece of naval artillery is very, very, very specific. You're not going to think this is, it's an electrical fire. Especially in a post-World War II Gotham. People would know what that shit looks like.
Well, there's that, but also it's really fucking loud.
Yeah.
No one on the pier, no one near the bay heard this.
Wait, every time there's a huge explosion from that boat, a building blows up and catches on fire. Huh? Weird. It must be ants. Maybe they have a termite problem.
To say nothing of the facts, guys, remember, radar was invented at the end of World War I and was perfected during World War II. Let me tell you, they saw the explosion. But that's it. We're not even at the actual thing that's bad here. So Bruce Timm, for people that don't know, got his start doing cheesecake, vaguely 1950s pinup girls that were cartoony. They're kind of neat. Okay? So Oswald is preparing to fire their cannon and doesn't think that the mooks are going fast enough. So she tells the mooks to get out of the way. She's going to do it herself. And she climbs onto the seat of the cannon. The seat is not a seat. It's not just to jump in and sit. No.
It's the umbrella handle.
It's an umbrella handle that is a back brace. So she sits astride the umbrella handle like a giant upright penis to fire her shot at Gotham PD.
I mean, that's kind of based. Like, if you're going to fire mortars at the local police department, you might as well sit on a giant dildo.
I'm just saying, it's like, this is, I don't care if it's an adult animated series, subtlety wouldn't have hurt. Okay?
I mean, you could have had an artillery shell that looked like a giant penguin.
Right.
You know, that would have been much more classy.
Because I don't have a problem with the idea that it was disguised as an umbrella and was actually on the deck the entire time and nobody knew it. That's actually funny. That works, right? A giant umbrella that's revealed to be a cannon piece that fires giant penguin shells would have been brilliant. No.
Very Adam West.
Right, but no, what they went with instead was a transgender or a cross-dresser astride a giant dildo firing explosive shells at the cops.
Did they draw this in my local library?
No.
Well, look, there's a lot of this series that appears to be tonight on the writer's barely disguised fetish.
We're also introduced to this episode to Harvey Dent, who's running for mayor, and it's an asshole.
Who is a shithead?
An absolute asshole.
When I was talking to Larry, I said that I felt that a lot of the show's flavor was derived from the series Mad Men. They said, we're going to do something pre-modern, and we're going to lean into some of the unpleasant social behaviors that were acceptable at the time. I don't actually have a problem with that.
But not the ones that would be interesting, like people calling Commissioner Gordon the N-word.
Right. So, in a 1950s where no one smokes, Harvey Dent, who's supposed to be a stand-up, likable guy and the best prosecutor Gotham has ever had, is kind of a shithead.
He bets Barbara Gordon, who's the defense attorney, heads, I'll give your guy 25 to life, tails, he gets the chair.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially the American justice system currently.
Right.
So.
But she says, I'm not betting on the man's life, and she storms out. But the other thing that really strikes me about the episode, the big final confrontation with the penguin on the boat, is unsatisfying.
Right.
It feels like an unearned end of the episode.
They were running out of time.
Bruce Wayne, of course, sneaks into a part of the hideout. He has to swim through an exit port in the bottom of the boat and then climb out of the ocean into the boat, and he's not even unnoticed.
Does he at least have a shark repellent on him, just in case?
No. He does not. He does not. That would have been good writing.
I'm out.
Exactly.
To be fair, the series does have a couple of Adam West references, but it's not leaning into Adam West hard enough to be funny. Because again, they could have taken it in the comedy direction with an Adam West flavor, and it would have sold, and they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Adam West is my favorite Batman. So
sure. Hey, look, sometimes you just can't throw away a bomb.
Exactly.
So episode 2, or is there anything else you had for episode 1 in your notes?
Nope, that was episode 1. Episode 2 actually has very few notes, despite having many interesting Hollywood references. It just has one thing that makes me mad personally that I rage about. It's just a by-the-numbers introduction for Clayface. It's not retreading or reinventing the information very well, but those motherfuckers dressed him up like the Shadow, and they riffed the Shadow hard when Batman is a Shadow knockoff and always has been.
And their
that makes me so angry.
And their homage scenes to old Hollywood movies are all very flat.
Yeah,
it's lacking any definition. The faces, when you see faces in profile, they basically look like squares with a little nose drawn on them.
Throughout much of the series, blocking is a lacking art. Scenes are simply presented in a square, flat, straight on, looking at a pair of people setup with a wide lens. So they don't even use the idea that they're going to play around with Hollywood tropes to like fiddle with lighting, to do exotic perceptions to create a sense of unease. So it's not only we did the Shadow and we said it was Clayface, so Batman could beat up a guy that looked like the Shadow, but while we did it in the most boring way possible.
Yeah, because it would have been kind of funny, if they did it right, to have like a Shadow analog get beaten up by Batman. That would have been like that premise is that's a good premise. It's amusing.
And they had a white actor, the Clayface, obsessed over a black actress. And at no point was the episode self-aware about how, hey, in this time frame, that's not cool. Not cool for the fact that everybody would be racist about it, but also not cool that a white man thinks he has the right to own a black woman.
Well, that, and I can't think of a black actress that looked like Halle Berry back in the 40s.
Oh, there were several.
There were.
But that's not even the thing. They didn't even go the interesting direction of implying that he would have given it all up for her, and she snubbed him because she was more interested in her career. That would have been interesting.
He's going to throw it all the way for the Negusi.
Some people are like that. I mean, they implied that Basil Carlo was a simp. Okay.
And this episode was one of the least egregious.
It really was. It's not the least important, because there are worse episodes that are more boring, but it was the least offensive.
It had the shadow bit.
It had a mystery. It had Batman exploring a mystery, doing Batman things. It did have the ensemble doing things, but it was a very conventional Bat story.
Also, I would also say, in addition to him looking like the Shadow, he also looked a little bit like Darkman, which was also kind of weird.
Well, remember, Darkman was only made because Sam Raimi couldn't get the rights to the Shadow in the first place. So, I find that less of a ripoff and more overtly an homage. Because Darkman stands on its own.
Yeah, so episode 3.
Well, real quick.
Yeah.
An odd thought I just had.
Hmm?
Thinking back over the past, 15 years, I can't think of a good mystery, movie, TV show, whatever. Now, could that be because of social media? Because we haven't had any good actual mysteries happening in the social zeitgeist in the news cycle? Why can't they write a good mystery bait and switch these days?
I think there have been some good mysteries, but I think the problem is, as far as TV goes, the reliance on the multi-episode but limited series structure has negatively affected mysteries, because if I give you, say, a 6-episode series, right?
Yeah.
You know that I'm going to use my first 2 episodes to establish my plot and my setting, and I'm going to use my last 2 episodes to give answers, which means the middle 2 episodes don't mean anything.
Unless they're there for characterization.
Right. So basically people are not grasped by a mystery because they are too familiar with the structure. If it was at least episodic, where every story had to be self-contained and complete itself in an hour, right?
Yeah.
Then at least you're getting fed the complete dopamine hit.
Well,
and
the other problem is
I'm thinking back to the show Psych. I love that show.
Right.
I think it's a fantastic modern representation of Sherlock Holmes.
Here's the thing,
and I can't think of a single thing like that recently.
Psych is more of a procedural than a mystery, though.
Right.
And that's the other problem is we've gone away from mysteries
That's-
because we focus on procedurals.
All right, so I'm going to
Okay,
compare
fair.
two shows. I'm going to compare two shows real quick. This is a weird segue. For America, House is a Sherlock Holmes series. House is Sherlock. He has all of Sherlock's negative personality traits, and Watson is actually spread out across multiple characters.
But he's mostly Wilson.
Right. And between all of them, they'll figure out what the crime is in the form of the medical mystery. Right? The problem with mystery, like in general, why mysteries don't work, okay, is actually the BBC. And it's actually Davies. And it's called Sherlock. Because fuck Benedict Cumberbungle.
Okay, the first season's pretty good.
It
No.
wasn't.
None of the seasons were good.
I really tried.
I remember
Sherlock-
the first season being fairly close to the original story, just brought into a
Also
modern context.
no.
Again, it's
Sherlock-
probably been 15 years since I've watched
Yeah.
it.
Look, it's
Sherlock is-
it's a different argument that we can have at great length over
Yeah.
beers. We'll throw rocks at each other. What I'm getting at is that over the course of the series, they downplayed the intellectual pursuit of a good mystery with a good story.
Oh yeah, it
And
got
instead
super retarded super fast.
And soon began to emphasize ever more the emotional context, the struggle of being Sherlock, who is the most important Superman on Earth, the struggle of being Watson, Sherlock's friend, the struggle of having friends and relationships when you're surrounded by
Also,
gay
the struggle of,
supervillains
also the struggle of your gay supervillain who wants to have sex with you. Don't
who
forget that part.
then commit suicide because you're not as smart as he thought he was. But he'll be back, guys. But he won't. But he might. But your sister is also a supervillain because surprise box. That's why we can't have good mysteries anymore, because people have decided that emotional content and shock value is more reactive. It garners more attention than a simple story well told.
So, what's the next episode?
Episode 3 is the Catwoman episode, and I want to read my notes exactly. An extremely conventional Batman Catwoman episode with overtones of Roxy Rocket, serving neither character nor season-wide plot, setting up Harley Quinn origins, but emblematic of the problem. Everything is world building. Everyone is connected to the same small suite of characters. Failure to explore the Gotham criminal underworld. Alfred is a fat former spy. There you go.
This was the episode where the Wayne family jewels were being shown, and it's a set of pearls, 2 bracelets, and earrings. And I'm like going, why would this be in a museum? And they're not even really well-designed pearls. Like, no one went to the artist and said, hey, here are really expensive fucking pearls and what they look like.
Right. So they've got the plot of the episode is as follows. These jewels are on display, and while Bruce Wayne is standing there talking to Selina Kyle, who is only suspected of being a criminal at this point, some dingus, because that is the term they would use at the time, you dingus, walks up while taking notes for his newspaper and shit talks Bruce Wayne's mom, basically saying, well, if you wear shit like that down a dark alley in Gotham, what do you expect to happen, lady? And so Bruce Wayne taps him on the shoulder and punches him dead in the fucking face. And it's like, what are you complaining about? You now applaud.
And Bruce Wayne, in the pseudo 40s and 50s, is forced to see a shrink, which is not what would have happened.
For his anger management issues. His shrink is, of course, Harleen Quinzel, who is no longer a academian psychiatrist, right? She is now a practicing shrink with an office.
Who implies that Bruce is gay.
Who implies that Bruce is gay, that he's suppressing his anger, that he's not dealing with the context of what happened to his family. Which admittedly would be true if he was 12, but he's now a 30-year-old man. Right?
And she talks about trauma, which is not a popular psychological theory of the time. Nobody would
Now,
have been talking about trauma.
Which is
Now-
also a gay psychological theory.
well,
but-
here's the thing. I'll grant you that if they implied that she was brilliant, that basically she's a super scientist because she's going to be a super villain, and that she is laying the groundwork for what would be trauma theory one day, I would have accepted it. But they don't do any character building on Harley. They simply say, here's our Harley, you know what's going to happen.
And Selena steals, because bitches be stealing.
Right.
And she makes a supervillain costume, and she's the first person really in a supervillain costume in this whole show. And that's weird. It's really weird. Really, by the numbers, Catwoman steals, Batman chases her. You know, she gets away, not in a particularly clever way. Batman sets her up, chases her again. Then he catches her. She goes to jail, but instead of being a rich Catwoman at this point, her beleaguered maid stole all her money and gave all of her cats to good homes.
Which, by the way, sets the tone for the idea that if you're being stiffed for your pay, it's okay to rob someone and flee, because if they're a criminal, whatever you do to them is acceptable.
And it's also part of the trend in this show of none of the endings are satisfying.
Right.
At no point does it feel that Batman has won a victory. It's just the problem has resolved itself.
So that brings us to episode 4. And episode 4 actually has a halfway decent plot. All right, I want to get the good stuff out the way first. Start with the sugar before we get to the salt. The plot of episode 4 is the Gotham PD has been given carte blanche by the aggrieved mayor, who's busy fighting with Harvey Dent for his slot. Get the Batman, right? So they call in Harley, because there's only one shrink in Gotham, of course, to give a profile on the Batman and what the Batman wants. And she basically describes that Batman is beating up villains by proxy, right? So if there's a crime going on, Batman will show up, evidencing a second degree or a second grader's interpretation of cause and effect, because the cops couldn't figure this out after Batman has beaten up so many muggers.
Also, this is just the time where criminal profiling started, so at least this is historically appropriate use of a psychologist.
Actually, about 10 years too early, but yeah.
It's close enough.
Yeah, the alienists are starting to think about it. But basically, so what they have the Batman Task Force run by Officer Montoya do a bunch of staged crimes, and it doesn't work because Batman's catching on to it. He recognizes cops pretending to be criminals every time.
And also, he breaks into Gotham PD with regularity.
Right. The thing is that in my notes here, I have a line. DEI coding fails because the villain is a black man. Why? Because you watch several of these staged crimes, and they have black guys in the position of the heavy. And then the actual bad guy of the episode is Bullock's partner, Detective Flass. Flass, for
who
people
they
who
made a
don't
black
know,
guy.
Flass, for people who don't know, was a white guy and was Jim Gordon's partner in Batman Year One. They randomly made him a smooth-talking black man who's about one step removed from a pimp for Cape Crusader. And his genius idea is, hey, what if we just grab some random murderizer and let him go? And then we'll wait for Batman to grab him, and then we'll just grab both. And out of all the people they could have picked, they chose the fucking arsonist. And there's a big joke about the fact that it's Firefly, but he wants to be called Firebug, which is an older Batman villain. It really doesn't matter. The point is of all the tools you could have you chose a guy who's pathological and wants to burn children for your illicit, unsubstantiated sting that no one approved of. Right? What's more, at the height of all of this bullshit going on, the mayor is chewing out Jim Gordon, and it is implied that Jim Gordon is a diversity hire.
That's racist!
It is!
Exactly.
So let's be sure we're clear here. Jim Gordon, a black man, was not hired because he was the best at the job, but because the mayor wanted to make political points by having a black guy in charge. And then can't control his own precinct, which uses black men as antagonists, and the one black man that is actually an antagonist looses a violent psychopath onto the streets to beat up Batman, and almost kills an entire neighborhood full of children.
Hey, maybe if they could figure out how to change the smoke detector batteries in the precinct, they wouldn't have all this crime.
You know, if that building had smoke detectors, maybe there wouldn't be children trapped in a burning building. I can't imagine.
Well, yeah, because you got to change the batteries.
Right.
By the way, this is not the only issue of arson we're going to see in this show.
But with that in mind, the reason I say it is a halfway decent Batman episode is because Batman fighting to avoid the cops while fighting a bad guy while trying to save children from a burning house is solid Batman storytelling. If you had removed the political components and relied on the strength of characterization, it could have been great.
But they don't believe in characterization.
They don't believe in characterization. They believe in representation. So then we get to episode 5, which is the Harley episode.
How many episodes are
9.
9.
9.
I thought there were 10.
No, that's 9. The thing is that while a bunch of stuff happens in the Harley episode, there's nothing going on in the Harley episode. It's fucking empty. Harley is kidnapping members of her own patient stat pool.
Does she at least make the pun about, like, do you want to hop on and take your Harley for a ride?
No.
No.
God damn it.
That would have required class and some wit.
I hate everybody.
So
yeah.
she's kidnapping members of her own patient pool, not that anyone seems to have noticed.
Oh, no, there are 10 episodes. There are 10 episodes. I saw the 10th one.
I haven't seen the 10th one. But she's kidnapping them to psychologically torture them to punish them for their perceived crimes. And then making them give away all their money before they kill themselves.
Also, this is a recurring theme of the bad guys actually being vigilantes. Which, if the show was actually being well written, you would use that to say what makes them different from Batman.
Right. This is
but
the
show doesn't.
Because they're not wearing hockey pads.
This is the episode that has the overt sexual lesbian kiss in a public place. This is the episode that has Montoya's a fat figure skater. But
also the guy with the adult baby fetish.
Yep. But most importantly, what I find interesting, in this episode, and basically to make Harley Quinn more of a villain, not dependent on being related to the Joker, they stole the Mad Hatter shtick. Because they don't have the Mad Hatter. Because Jervis Tetch is a brainwashing guy. They made Harley Quinn a brainwashing guy.
And if they brought in the Mad Hatter, he would fit in perfectly in this series.
Yeah, but no, they didn't. So they had the option to do it better, and they didn't. They used this episode for every bit of DEI and SBI and social justice woke signaling they could, and just made a nothing burger of an episode where Harley gets away at the end. Spoilers, Harley gets away at the end. So, then we have episode 6. Episode 6, I actually say is a good episode. Except, they're not doing anything with Hellblazer, so I don't give a shit. Right?
The episode 6 is one where they say, hey, sometimes Batman fights ghosts.
Right. It doesn't. It continues the character assassination on Harvey Dent. Right, which runs counter to the idea that Dent and Bruce are even remotely friends. Right. Also, they can make Barb Gordon look like a better public defender. Right, because the prosecutor must be the bad guy, so the public defender must be the good guy. Right. Right. And the villain is
if you work for the government, you're automatically the bad guy.
In Hollywood, sure.
No,
But
in real life.
In Ayrton's brain, sure, but there are plenty of good people who happen to work for the government because it pays. The thing is that it's Batman fighting the gentleman ghost who is a highwayman, and I mean it's okay, but it's a breather of an episode.
Also, realistically, shouldn't the gentleman ghost have been racist? Wouldn't that have made this a stronger episode?
Well, he was a classicist, remember? He was stealing from poor people because apparently it is his noble right to take from all the poor people, and how dare they? How dare... Gentlemen, I regret to inform you, poverty!
I mean, to be fair, I kind of want one of those Paris Hilton tank tops that says "Stop being poor."
What was the name of that occult weirdo that Bruce met in the library?
Papa Midnight.
Why didn't they use Jason Blood?
Why didn't they use John Constantine? I mean, we know why they used Papa Midnight, because it's a black man. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
The
But
point is,
Jason Blood has more, canonical connections with Batman.
The overall point is that it is not a bad episode. It is an interesting supernatural episode. It is not connected to anything else. It's a self-contained box. Right? Then we have episode 7. Episode 7 makes a reference to Floyd Lawton existing, but they totally throw aside Deadshot for a lesser-known neurodivergent bat villain called Onomatopoeia. And while I appreciate rare characters getting introduced, there's a reason some characters are rare. Onomatopoeia is a stupid fucking character. It's a guy who cannot communicate with people normally, so he instead speaks in sound bubbles, including a point where he's fist fighting with Batman and he's making the Batman fisticuff noises from the Adam West show. Right?
And can we just stop with the term neurodivergent? Fucking hate
that is their term. I'm not supporting it. I'm calling it what it is. The guy's got mental issues that somehow make him an excellent supervillain, but he can't talk. Woo.
So brave.
It's not a bad episode because of the idea that the mob put out a hit on Barbara Gordon. It's just supremely uninteresting. You want to watch a better version of this episode? Watch the Deadshot segment from Gotham Arkham, from Batman Gotham Knight, the anime film from the Batman Begins era. Better version of this.
Now, also, in the real world, the Mafia would never assassinate a public defender whose dad was the chief of police. That would never happen. The mob has rules against shit like that. Going after family of your enemies is strictly verboten, especially back then.
But of course, we can't show that the mob has any, even if misguided, scruples, because that runs counter to the idea that all of these guys were walking murder factories. The idea that the mob used to show restraint confuses people. So,
and then you would again get into the fact that the mob was okay with dealing drugs to black and brown people because they considered them as things that didn't have souls.
Right, because nuance is complicated. So we have episode 8. Episode 8 is arguably the worst episode. The actual worst episode. And again, I want to read my notes exactly. Another supernatural episode, and interesting, but also choked with lore nods to make up for its lack of real storytelling. Of course, it has multiple Robins because
Dick's in
Jason
there.
Todd, Dick,
Stephanie's in
and
there.
Stephanie show up. Because of course they all met Bruce Wayne before they officially met Bruce Wayne. What a coincidence! Batman saves a little girl. Yay! Clearly a filler episode with some lore nods to Killer Croc and other rare characters. Just set up for episode 9 reveal. After all the character assassination on Dent, it lacks the moral punch of the Two-Face episode from Tim's own BTAS outing.
Also, across several episodes, Harvey Dent was taking a bribe. The White Knight of Gotham became tarnished.
Right.
But he decided in this episode, because he didn't make the effort to save the little kid, maybe I have been an asshole. I need to turn my shit around.
Right.
And then he got acid in the face like he was a woman in a revenge killing incident in a major British city.
Right. So
it was Pakistan.
So here's the thing of it, okay? Bruce Wayne goes to the carnival because he's a small child, clearly. While there, his family friend, Dr. Tompkins, who's apparently running an orphanage instead of a surgery, is having a nighttime field trip for orphans.
Which is weird.
Where a bunch of orphans are getting kidnapped by a young woman who eats souls, apparently.
Maybe don't do field trips at night then.
How? Who the fuck knows? It's an evil carnival that happens to have Waylon Jones as one of its freaks. And I'll grant you, I do enjoy the scene where Batman has gone as Bruce Wayne has gone into the House of Mirrors to save the little girl, kicks his way through a wall, the carnies find him, and thinking he's a bad guy looking for small children, he has the shit beat out of him by a bearded lady. That's actually awesome. But overall, the episode just happens. A lot of things just occur for no reason. It doesn't substantiate future stories well. It doesn't tie into anything very well. It doesn't have a moral or ethical through line or a theme. It's just Batman at the carnival. Right? And then episode 9 immediately picks up where that one ended with Harvey Dent dealing with the fact he took acid to the face. And it's literally, yet again, just a worse version of a BTS episode.
Also, the visual design of his disfigurement is the least interesting Two-Face disfigurement.
It's really lacking. It's just a monotone half skull that's the same tone as his skin with a droopy eyelid. It's not great. And apparently episode 10 is out. I thought it was only going to be 9 episodes.
So episode 10.
Yeah.
Harvey Dent is in the psych ward because Barbara Gordon tricked him into letting her be his attorney. And she's getting him in the psych ward. And the big mob boss guy, whose name I'm forgetting.
Rupert Thorne.
Thorne. Thorne is wanting to get him killed because, he knows too much. He knows too much shit about big and important people that he's, scratched some backs on.
Because everybody's going to believe the guy who just went on an all-night murderous rampage and is in a happy home, right?
But he knows where things are. He knows where evidence is. So he could reveal things. And that's what Barbara Gordon's trying to get him to do. And so before he goes into his hearing, after being in a happy home, and Barbara, woman explains to him how a hearing works. Barbara Gordon, who had been his opposing counsel in numerous trials, which was grossly offensive, Thorne and his men do sleeping gas to, knock him out. And most of the episode is about Barbara and Harvey as an unlikely pair trying to avoid getting killed. In this episode, Batman does point a gun, but you don't know if Batman actually shot the gun because the shooting sound happens off screen. Bullock and his part
Gay!
Bullock and his partner are going to hand him off to Thorne's men, but Batman intervenes. Batman fights with the cops, the dirty cops, points the gun at them, and the episode ends with a stinger because it's a 10 episode. We need to tease you and promise you something you're wanting for the next season. What do you think the stinger is, Joe?
Do tell.
No. I want you to say it because you know what the stinger is.
I'm gonna assume Joker reference.
Yes, not a Joker reference. It's the Joker testing the Joker toxin on 3 people, and we see a shadowy image of the Joker.
Well,
And
because
we
it
know
can
it's
because it can only be one lead-in for a second season that people would give a shit about.
Yep. So it's entirely lazy from start to finish. It's part of the lazy 10-episode television formula. The art style's lazy, sound design's lazy, voice acting's lazy, especially Batman. At the end of episode 10, either that or episode 9, I don't remember which one it was, that Bruce had been calling Alfred Pennyworth, which was weird. And then he finally, at the end, was willing to call him Alfred.
What?
To represent... Yeah.
Well, to say nothing of the fact that throughout the entire run of series, he is nothing but shitty to Alfred the entire time.
The guy who raised him.
His father figure who raised him, who in a flashback is as fat yesterday as he is today.
It's weird. It is bad. It is lazy. Do not, if you have Max, watch this on Max. Do watch it by alternative means. So,
watch it once and then never watch it again.
We all remember how Zack Snyder said he was going to make a director's cut of the movie that he had.
Thank you.
Yes. The movie that he had absolute cut on and 100% creative control. And he added an hour and a half to Rebel Moon. And it was bad.
Now, was it actually an hour and a half, or was it like 13 minutes? But was it actually 13 minutes, but it just turned into an hour and a half because of slow motion?
No, actually, he added very little in slow motion.
Wow.
He was all new scenes.
That's
so you remember that Asian soldier who decided to join the village for no real reason?
Dude, I don't remember anything about this movie.
Okay. So there was an Asian soldier who joined the village for no real reason. So he got a 21-minute long backstory at the opening of the movie. And during this backstory is where one of the 2 places they earned their R rating. So they captured various females, ripped off the tops, and branded them on the boob.
I mean, is that not how you're supposed to do it?
No.
Oh.
And they had a little cute CGI pet that went Allahu Akbar on the soldiers. It exploded. That was a thing that happened. And then Admiral Noble tells the boy, tell you what, if you brutally beat your father to death with this sacred femur, I'll let your mother and your sisters live. And the dad is like, yes, son.
Wait. I thought this was a Star Wars movie, not a Congo documentary.
And the dad is like, yes, son, please brutally beat me with this bone. And after he's beaten, to death with repeated blows to the head by his own child, the villain...
Where'd the femur come from?
It's a sacred artifact of the Empire that's been in the whole show.
But where did it come from?
It comes from the thing that's sacred, sacred. And it'll totally be explained in some later tie-in piece of media that will surely happen.
Oh, okay.
So they take a tooth from the guy who got brutally beaten and got put onto an icon of the murdered princess. That's a tooth from each of the rulers from the worlds they have defeated in service of the Empire. And the villain does a monologue while he eats the brains of the man who was brutally beaten. And this 22-ish minutes is added on before the opening of the movie that we had previously seen. Now,
Wait a minute. Oh, no, you explained why. Oh, that's so much worse.
mm-hmm.
I was going to say, wouldn't this lead to a structural problem where it's front-loaded for all this hyper-violence and then kind of tame the rest of the movie? But oh wait, they just added more blood with more digital squib effects.
Yes. So the blood bursts out like it's molten metal whenever they shoot somebody.
Because that's how blood works.
So you remember the scene where they had the fertility ritual in the space Amish village? Well, they redid the speech where they talk about the fertility gods, and they use the word fuck. They use the word fuck a lot. They use the word fuck like they're an 11-year-old who just learned what the word fuck was. And then, you know how there was a thing with the main character having a romance with the mighty
That's
hunter?
why I don't like Zack Snyder.
Yes.
I figured it out.
Yes.
He's Todd McFarlane.
Because he's perpetually an edgy teenager?
No, he's Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane is a very rich man, okay, who owns a company, okay? He is a corpo, right? Who goes around talking about how he's not in favor of corpos and how he's anti-big business, okay? But he doesn't actually give a shit about any of the causes he supposedly represents. He's just interested in making his money and getting his credit.
Yep.
Right?
So,
Zack Snyder is the exact same thing. He doesn't care about art or filmmaking. He thinks those things are for queers and losers. Mm-hmm. But he's going to talk about how he's going to use all those tools to make film because he's a filmmaker, even though he's fucking not. He's exactly like Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
He needs to go buy a sports team and fuck off.
So they use the F word for the fertility ritual, and then we see the main character have sex with the hunter. Full topless sex scene, and this is the most emotional rage we have seen of her in the entire last two movies.
Wait a minute. You rage during the sex scene?
No, the emotional rage. You actually see her have emotions
range
during. Yeah.
Range.
She actually has emotions during the sex scene.
And Rune, if you've never had sex with a little bit of rage, you're missing out. You should really try it.
No, I'm just saying. I heard you say emotional rage, and I was like, "What is she like screaming and threatening to murder him mid coitus?"
Now, after the sex scene, our protagonist in the original film goes to talk to her adopted father figure. Now, you could just segue that into that scene, but not if you're Zack Snyder. We then watch a scene of her washing herself down with a wet rag after having sex and putting her clothes on.
Classy. You know, that's not how anyone who's ever actually had sex has a bath.
Hold on. This takes place in a universe with lightsabers and laser blasters and spaceships and androids.
They're not even
aliens.
And aliens and whatever else the fuck. And she has to wash herself with a fucking rag. They don't have space showers. Really?
Well, no, these are space Amish. These are space Amish. They reject technology. Except when they don't.
Okay, how many years is it for homicide?
Because you want Zack Snyder to die, or just because you want suicide?
No, just out of curiosity.
So they then, the movie resumes as it normally was. The bad guys show up, and they add in more sequence of the bad guys, walking in, talking to people. They beat up the leader of the Space Amish. They take his tooth. They put his tooth on the tooth board. So they add that in, which adds nothing of substance to the film. Then, they added a few little extra bits of, the military occupation of the village. My personal favorite thing is Netflix. On its closed captioning, takes the two actors who are speaking in Afrikaans, the language of the Dutch South Africans, and they subtitle it as Angry Noises.
That is the worst.
I mean, that's accurate if you've ever listened to the Afrikaner language.
But... I have.
But they extend out the rape scene, which is again classy. Then the protagonist, organizes
barely disguised fetish.
Yep. Yeah. Anthony Hopkins' robot, who actually does more to establish his backstory, so that's something. Does things as in the normal movie.
Why do we need a backstory on a robot?
Well, because they were all part of the secret order of robots. They were dedicated to defend the slain king. But he was slain.
I'm not going to write a backstory on some random 98 Corolla that somebody bought.
Look, I'm not making excuses for Zack Snyder's bullshit. But I will say, sir, C-3PO has an epic backstory about leading a robot revolt. Robots can have backstories.
It's true. Then they go to not Mos Eisley.
I want to write a backstory about my fucking toaster just to show you.
Where they had some slightly different conversations, but nothing that had substance. They had more CGI into the bar, not Mos Eisley. The gay rape scene is extended out. Well, not rape, but the gay sexual assault scene is extended out in the shooting, and the rogue, the smuggler, his joining them and helping them is actually made because he helps them out of the jam with they're being attacked because a gay alien wants to rape the male protagonist. Now, do you remember in the original Rebel Moon 1 how it was like they just randomly came across people? It's like, how the fuck did you know this person was here? Well, the movie spends about 1 to 5 minutes explaining how they find everybody. So, I mean, it doesn't add anything to the movie except it just makes it less shitty. So, I mean, that's something.
Ayrton was asking about why can they not do mysteries anymore. With that in that same mind, I want to say I really hate that people have decided to ruin the heist. Okay, it was funny when Rick and Morty did it. It was funny when Rick and Morty did it, but now it has become the truth. Is basically if you need a group of specialists, you just show up and you say, "I'm doing a thing. I'm putting together a team," and they say, "Fuck you, I'm in. You piece of shit." And it's like it's nonsense. It makes no sense.
There was a scene in the second Rebel Moon movie where they just pull her spaceship out of mothballs and it started. Well, in this movie, they take that scene and put this into this movie, so that makes sense now. So they've actually been working on her spaceship for 9 weeks.
I mean, a lot of the motorcycle YouTube channels I watch, they'll find an 80-year-old motorcycle in a junkyard and change the oil, put new spark plugs in, and it'll fire. So I guess I can kind of, that's vaguely believable that you could find an old spaceship in a barn and it'll start.
Well, right, but you see, it was actually 2 days right away, among other problems. And they weren't able to move it originally because they didn't have enough horses to move it. So we go through the thing, and our main female protagonist's backstory is extended, where not only was she found as a space orphan by the evil, not space emperor, but but he takes her on as his intern as he goes around, as a child, enslaving and murdering people on various planets. This is before, by the way, they kill the king and the royal family. So this noble and good emperor that's going to be set up in the second movie, we're running an empire that was just randomly murdering people for no reason.
So he was Space Obama?
The main
I mean,
villain,
he holds the record for the only Nobel Peace Prize with the most amount of kills.
Yes. The main villain, Admiral Noble, had a tentacle sex scene.
That is an amazing nickname, by the way. I approve.
Yes. No, that's not a nickname. That's his actual name.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's worse. Why did that actually have to be his name? I was going to congratulate you for making a good pun, Larry. I am I am less happy now. God
so
damn
the original version of the first movie, he had a tentacle sex scene. In the extended version, the tentacle sex scene is longer. And then
is it both longer and thicker?
Yes.
And uncut?
Yes. And before he's interrupted.
So Larry, because you're the resident Jew, can weird tentacle octopus aliens become Jewish?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because that's not kosher.
Look, that would be a long day's work. There'd be a lot of press for that.
And in the original movie, his subordinate interrupts him during the tentacle sex. In this version, he has tentacle sex.
Now I need to look up if you can circumcise an octopus. Give me a second.
In this version, he has tentacle sex. He goes to an ice tub, and then he sticks vape into one of the ports that he was using for tentacle sex, and then exhales his vape.
I just want to point out, one of the autofills on Google is, can you circumcise an octopus in Michigan 2023? And I am very concerned.
What the fuck?
That is weird.
Michigan, inquiring minds want to know why.
Also, the rebels get attacked by the bad guys. Then they regroup. But in this version, they agree to help out the farmers. They leave, and then the bad guys attack the alien planet as a separate thing that gives them the ability to find where the rebels are. So again, this is one of the rare instances where they added something to the director's cut that made the original movie look less shitty. The thing is, you chose the shittier version in your more mainstream cut of the film. But why would you do that?
Because there is no need for this director's cut. This is not about the director's cut. This is Zack Snyder putting his balls on the table and saying, I can do anything I want. I'm Zack Snyder because you wanted my cut of Justice League.
Oh, no.
That's what this is about.
It's worse than that. This wasn't Zack's idea. Netflix proposed it to him.
Of course they
did. Because they wanted to replicate this.
No, of course they did. Because now you don't ever have to actually make the good version of a movie.
Yes.
Not only can you just say we'll reboot it, but you can say, hey, you know what? That version was bad. Let's do a director's cut that's good. And is it actually good? No, it's the exact same movie, but we'll add more stuff that we could have added the first time. Because fuck you, you'll buy it, you clod. It's a scam. He's endorsed a scam. He's enshrined it, and Hollywood believes it. And everyone who gives this man money, you are responsible for what you get. If you said we release the Snyder Cut, you are responsible for this. Have a nice day.
Yeah. So, Zack Snyder originally said that this would be a different timeline. For the most part, it's not. They would say it'd have different angles in the same scenes. It doesn't. It would have different emotional context. It doesn't. The only thing positive is you don't randomly show up at a place where the guy is that you need to recruit. And you actually have characters have somewhat more normal conversations. And there's more tentacle rape, which is weird. It's weird. And also the scene where the main character is in the military academy. Instead of it being during the time of the military dictatorship, which was an oopsie doopsie, it was during the time of the monarchy. So the king, the good king, who's noble and great, we're all mourning for, endorse, wholesale slaughter. It's weird. Also, the coal. Remember how I complained about the ships being fueled with coal? That was changed. They're now fueled with skeletons.
What?
They're now fueled with skeletons. You throw the skeletons into a furnace, and the skeleton furnaces feed an enslaved god. Each ship is driven by an engine that's an enslaved god.
There's a version of this that was done about 30 years ago that's way better.
What's the version that was done 30 years ago that was way better?
So there's this D&D setting called Spelljammer.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of helm, because a spell-jamming helm is used so wizards can pilot through space, called a life jammer. And if you are a scumfucker who is evil and you don't care about human beings and people's inalienable right to live and be free, you use a life jammer, which is you take a prisoner, you put them in the helm, and you force them to give their life energy to pilot the ship. The problem with a life jammer is that if you run out of crew, right, or people resist and you can't get somebody to sit in the throne, you run out of gas, right? So people who run life jammers are often people who raid, pillage, and plunder literally for gasoline.
And our protagonist, in a totally humble moment, said that she used to go down to the engine room and comfort the enslaved gods because she felt sympathy for them and she felt a kind of spiritual kinship.
You're in a sci-fi setting. What's a god, bitch?
Exactly. So that was Rebel Moon, the quote-unquote director's cut part 1. Next week, I'm going to abuse myself by seeing Rebel Moon, quote-unquote, the director's cut part 2. Zack Snyder is a vile and degenerate human being. And, when people on our side of the spectrum tried to help him out and promote him and promote a charity in the name of his daughter who killed himself and he used it as a political gain, that was when I knew he was a degenerate scumbag. But this is just really nasty. Also, when he had Batista being a stand-in for himself, where he talked to his daughter who killed herself and said it's okay for her to kill him, that was weird. Zack Snyder's a man with problems.
Well,
why did you add more tentacle sex, Zach? Why did you do that?
Fair, if I was his kid, I'd probably do the same thing.
Why did you have the whole thing about a son to be a man being told to beat his own father to death? Why did you do that? Why did you just take women stripped off their shirts and brand their titties? Why did you do that? What made you make these artistic decisions, Zach? There's something very fucking wrong with him.
I'm just gonna throw out there that I'm not making excuses for Zack Snyder's bullshit, but it has indeed been done before. At least some of the things you just outlined by other people.
Yes, but those all are understandable things within the context of this movie. Like, random tentacle sex in this movie is just disjointing. It's a very disjointed narrative.
Can you name one media property where tentacle sex it makes sense in the story?
Oh, absolutely, Galaxy Quest.
Okay. All right, you got me. God damn it.
We teleported it up and it turned inside out and then exploded.
But I was referring to the one when Tony Shalhoub made out with the aliens in their alien form.
You were way too quick on the pull of that one.
No, I'm going to keep that in my mind now, Larry. In my mind, Zack Snyder just looks like Tony Shalhoub, smiling slightly awkwardly anytime someone asks him, why the tentacle sex?
So,
tonight, on the author's barely concealed fetish.
So, Rune, you got any good role playing game related material for the gang today?
Gen Con is bullshit.
I mean, yes, we've known this for years, but is there any particular reason it's bullshit?
All right, more succinctly. I'm gonna shit talk people in the community, and this is funny because we review things, and I have opinions about things, and I started a Substack for people that want to hear more of my opinions. What's wrong with you? But I have gotten tired of something. I have had my fill. What am I tired of in the role-playing environment? I'm tired of the grift. I'm tired of the hustle. Okay? I respect people that make money. I respect people that work hard. Okay? You make a game, you want to sell that game, you want to make that paper, go with God. Okay? But if your brand is having opinions on the internet, and you do not do a even basic level of academia and research to substantiate your arguments, if you are not presenting your material with intelligence and wisdom, get fucked. I don't care who you are. Why? Because Gen Con was this weekend. It's ongoing right now. And a bunch of YouTube sphere, breadtube luminaries in the tabletop sphere are all together, all hanging out, all sharing photos of them hanging out, being rich people at a convention. Exactly. But more importantly, there's been an upset in breadtube. People are talking about it. They're very concerned because WotC is worried about D&D 24, which they're now selling copies of at the convention for people that want an advanced copy. Because if you've already spent $400+ to go to a convention, why not burn more money on paper you can't play, right? So what they're talking about, what might be going on, is WotC is going to start paying breadtubers to talk nice about their game.
I mean, that's been happening with bigger YouTubers for years.
Been happening for years. It's not new. Video games have been having it for a decade.
It happens in motorcycles too.
But for role-playing game people, it's new and scary and wrong. Ugh.
I mean, it's not new, but I mean.
So a guy named Professor Dungeon Master did a video talking about the conspiracy. And when people asked him about it, he said, well, I could have called the video Everybody Needs to Chill, but that wouldn't have gotten views. To which my opinion is, get fucked! Because he is another in a long list of smug, self-satisfied, smarmy little dickheads who dresses nice and talks smart and thinks he's better than you. Because he has years of playing this game. I was raised in these games. I have these games on my shelf. My parents played with Gary's friends. I have been in this game for years, and I am not better than you. I am not better than anyone. My opinion is the equivalent of anyone else's fucking opinion. And if you have a platform and you think that makes you a somebody, you can eat the biggest part of my dick. Because it doesn't. Because you're not. And because nobody should give a fuck what you have to say. Read the fucking manual. That's where the truth lies. You want to know what Gary wanted? You want to know what Dave wanted? You want to know the secrets of the universe? Read the fucking manual. Disregard WotC. Disregard BreadTube. Read the fucking book for yourself and make your own goddamn decisions like an intelligent adult. That's how games work.
I mean, we could read what Gary wanted to do, but I mean, a lot of Gary's ideas weren't all that good.
Some of them aren't great. It happens. But more importantly, right now, up in Lake Geneva, thereabouts, Gen Con is going on, so that smug, wealthy people who are better than thou can talk about how much better they are than you, living the life and giving each other's ennies. And you're supposed to suck it up. And by the way, while we're at it, Shadow Dark won Best RPG.
I mean, of course it did, because it was made by the right people.
It was made by the right people, and if you recall, Shadow Dark got attacked by, I want to say, Pundit, right? And Ryan David, and others, who all basically said, this isn't our game, and so it's an indie, and we don't like it. So of course it had to get high attention. Their outrage, their grift, their hustle made it a winner of an Emmy. Which means that the award doesn't mean shit, the convention doesn't mean shit, and BreadTube doesn't mean shit.
Well, I mean, the rumor is they're going to give Alex DeCampi a new award because a new Eisner, because everybody's mad at her for convincing Ed Piscor to get Canadian health care.
Yeah.
So all these awards are fake and gay.
They're all fake and gay. But
the Oscars were invented to make it look like Hollywood wasn't involved with the communists.
The thing that aggravates me, okay, is on Tuesday, we're all standing here, not necessarily locked elbow to elbow, but we're all standing at least shoulder to shoulder going, get fucked, Watsy, because Watsy was wrong, right? But on Wednesday, we're all pointing guns at each other going, you're the wrong kind of gamer. No, you're the wrong kind of gamer. No, you're the wrong kind of gamer. And then on Thursday, all of these guys get together at their special party bus and say, hey man, look at how much money we made off of those suckers fighting each other after we told them to be mad at Watsy. It's fucking beautiful. And everyone bought it. And everyone believes in it. And everyone's just continuing the fucking cycle. Nerdrotic is a liar. Ryan David's a liar. Pundit's a liar. Professor Dungeon Master is not your friend. Okay? There are very few people in the YouTube sphere talking about tabletop role-playing that I would advocate that you listen to. And you know why I advocate you listen to them? Because they don't give a shit about the politics. They're not reactive to what's currently going on. You know what they talk about? They talk about games they like. The reason I still listen to Grim Jim, even though Jim is a little bit crazy and a little bit rad lefty, is because he's over there in Bing Bong Land dealing with Bing Bong madness, but he likes to sit down and talk about games. Because that's what he'd actually like to talk about. It's not the big...
Yeah.
Like an intelligent person.
So, Ayrton, if you could pull up that second link that I have there in the private dupe we do.
Also, are you guys happy? You got your minute of Joe rage out.
Yes.
I mean, I had other things to get you to rage. Let's see.
I'm sure we'll have it again. I'm sure we'll have it again.
Let's play the second one there.
You gotta kind of power down a little bit.
The Hollywood Reporter one.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
because there's something good.
I thought you meant the second link you posted.
I mean, because we can also talk about like Starfleet Academy. We can talk about
no. I have something good to talk about up here.
We can talk about how Amazon is losing money right now because they're making Henry Cavill mad.
Dude. All right, and if you could sync up the video there on that too, so we can hear it.
All right.
Here we go.
How have you seen Hollywood's interest in making those kinds of films change over the course of your career, and what do you think are the forces at play?
Well, they just overthink it.
Vince Vaughn is getting candid about why the type of R-rated movies he's been known for are no longer being made. The actor rose to fame in the late 90s and early 2000s with his hard R-rated movies such as Wedding Crashers, Old School, and Swingers. But he recently shared on Hot Ones why he thinks those films are not being made in this day and age, saying movie execs are overthinking it.
It gets crazy. You get these rules. It's like if you did geometry and you said 87 degrees was a right angle, then all your answers were messed up instead of 90 degrees.
He noted, so there became some idea or concept, like they would say something like, you have to have an IP. The star proceeded to use the board game Battleship as an example, saying the IP became a vehicle for storytelling just because it had a recognizable name.
Whereas like an IP, like John Hughes from our neck of the woods, right? Mm-hmm. An IP was a girl's turning 16. Like every girl turns 16. Or I'm going to cut school. You know, life situations. Or Old School. What if I got to go back and be in a fraternity now at this stage of the game.
He continued, they want to kind of follow a set of rules that somehow get set in stone that don't really translate. But as long as they follow them, they're not going to lose their jobs because they can say, well, look, I made a movie off the board game Payday. So even though the movie didn't work, you can't let me go, right? But the actor still has hope for the future and predicted that audiences would see more films similar to his R-rated comedies again.
People want to laugh. People want to... You look at stuff that feels a little bit like it's dangerous or pushing the envelope. And I think you're going to see more of it in the film space sooner than later, would be my guess.
For more on this story, head to thr.com.
God,
All right, so
that video was unbearable.
Right, but what do you think about what Vince Vaughn had to say there about the nature of what's going on in Hollywood and the comic space and all that other bullshit?
I mean, it's easier to say when you don't have anything running on the line. They're not burning down Vince Vaughn's phone, so he doesn't give a fuck.
I mean,
but not giving a fuck might make them pick up the phone.
I think he's right to an extent, but wrong on the cause. If that makes sense.
Well, no, it's more nuanced. Joe and I like to use the word nuance a lot, but I mean it is a more nuanced thing. So the current model in the filmmaking is a producer/studio model. So you're a suit in the studio, and you're the one who says, "Hey, I'm going to make a movie based off of the board game Payday." Why? Because I can say to my bosses, "Hey, this is based off of an IP that we paid $10 million for. So we need to get a return on that investment." So that immediately means that IP is going to get greenlit. So it doesn't really matter. And if they are upset that it didn't produce, I'm saying, like, look, it's not my fault. It's the director's fault. It's the writer's fault. It's the actor's fault. It's the economy. It's the demographics. It's the this. It's that. I did my job, and I got that IP that we paid for into a film. That is one layer of the cookie. The other layer of the cookie is, of course, that if you do that, then it becomes a vehicle for racial, sexual, cultural, DEI stuff, which ties into risk compliance. Because we're not a racist movie studio. Look at all these movies where we made white characters black. That shows that we're racially progressive. You can't sue us for that. That's another element to the cookie. There's a lot of things that all sort of come together and they form this ethos. Also, there's nepotism in hiring. So if your cousin, your brother, your best friend from high school is directing a movie and it's kind of shit, they say, well, look, he really wasn't able to do a good job because he was making a movie based off of a board game. So you can't fire him. In fact, you have to hire him for this next movie. It's all duplicitous, toxic bullshit. You got anything else on that one, Joe?
Nope. You have in fact said it very succinctly. It's not, and the thing is, they're not even actually working for job safety, because it's more about, like, you can't accuse someone of rape and then prove that they are not a rapist, because the very accusation is career destroying. In that same way, it's like, oh, you can't say I'm a racist. Look at this color thing that I did. And even though that itself is a racist comment, it's like you're shielded. You are positively protected from the negative consequences of your shitty actions.
Well, and I think the status is more important to them than the actual job.
Well,
for the most part.
I mean that, and as a for instance, drawing on a filmic example, Marvel wanted to do an Eternals movie, so they selected a woman who had only done like 2 character pieces before, but she was a woman, so it was the correct metrics. And
she'd won an Academy Award.
Right, she'd won an award, and so she did the movie very badly, right? But now she can say, well, I've done a big major production, so now I can make all my small productions, and they'll never criticize me for having no experience on a big production.
Yeah.
Right? Never mind that she drove that production into the fucking dirt because it was a bad product with a bad idea with a director who wasn't prepared for it.
Also, she didn't really have a lot of cost overruns when she was managing the production. So she could go to the financiers and say, look how good I am with the money.
Right, because a person who should be making that movie should have 10 or 20 years in the industry first. Right.
But then that person will want to have input in the movie, which the studio doesn't want.
Right.
If you click on the Earth 1610 link there.
Okay.
You see, a lot of people have been commenting on how your boy Zach is making low quality content based on Twitter. but we're doing high quality content here. So here is something from a new Spider-Gwen.
Fucking retarded.
If you could zoom in a little bit there, Aaron. Zoom in, enhance a little.
I can't. Twitter won't actually let me zoom in.
Okay. So we have Spider-Gwen doing a Kamehameha wave. So here is a sign that you have a bad character.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw this when you posted it, and I was so confused what was going on in these panels.
So here's a sign that Spider-Gwen is a bad character. This isn't like the golden age of comics where we hadn't figured out how superhero storytelling worked. Where, it was kind of bullshit that Superman just kept getting different powers and how Batman had, bat shark repellent. That was bullshit. We all agreed that's bullshit. But we know how the things works. If you are at this
fun bullshit.
Right. But now that we have everything established, everything's clear cut, if you have to give Spider-Gwen a new power, you don't know how to tell stories with Spider-Gwen. You don't have an idea of what a Spider-Gwen story is. Same thing with Miles Morales, who keeps getting power-ups. You don't know who Miles Morales is. You don't know what his powers are. He's just a weird aesthetic.
I mean, they fucking gave Wolverine a power-up.
Yeah. Because
well, remember, this isn't just a we don't know how to tell a good superhero story anymore. This is also we don't know what else to do with the character. Probably influenced by exposure to the manga sphere, because every time you need something dire or desperate or important in, say, a Dragon Ball Z, Goku finds a new move and then has to undergo the training process to discover it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that that's an ass pull.
Yes, it is.
Right? But at least in that manga, not only is it supported by the logic of the setting, where a martial artist simply martial arts until they martial arts so big that they make a bomb that destroys a planet, right? But they do actually undergo the 200-episode arc of him running down a long dragon aisle to meet God to learn the spirit bomb, right? Yep. In Marveldom, imitating, they're saying we're both going to give a new power, and we don't know how to tell the story, and we're going to give it to them immediately with no effort. And then when we tell them things like, well, where's the effort? It doesn't feel earned. They don't understand, because it's like, but Goku got a spirit bomb. It's like, yeah, after getting his ass kicked, after dying, after going to hell, after getting to heaven, after running down the Dragon Way, almost getting eaten by sirens, and meeting God. There's a progression of events there.
And the only reason
I hate that I have that much Dragon Ball Z memorized.
And he had to fight a little cricket dude that flew around.
Right. Yeah.
With that part.
And if you click on the Star Hoovian there.
Oh, I wanted to play this though.
Well, no. We can play this in a minute.
All right, hold on.
The Star Hoovian is the last of my content here.
Okay.
And if you could play the clip of the mincing queen, Russell T. Davies.
Oh, I thought you meant Alex Kurtzman.
Now that's a deep cut.
Don't go online much. Maybe I should. Maybe
Pick
that's
your
wrong.
queen, sir.
I'm just having to work Twitter, main or X, mainly as the portal online. I don't feel particularly safe as a gamer. I mean, increasingly, I think that's.
Oh, shut up!
Wait.
Fucking...
Let it go. Let it go.
In society, I see what's said out there, and that's a long discussion all the time. But I'm not sure could be part of that. So that's tricky. That stops you going online in many ways. Or we could spend your whole life on that. So I get my agent tells me what's going on. I get people you kind of hear inevitably there's kind of osmosis where what's the culture wars or whatever kind of creep through. To be honest, in terms of online activity, I'm much more interested in what's happening. I think Doctor Who's fine. Doctor Who. Well, how can I say this? It's like I think there are things happening in the culture wars, particularly with trans rights these days, that are a million times more important than what's happening.
Culture wars are fake and gay.
It's terrifying. So,
you're fighting some of those battles on the show just by the representation.
Yes. I don't go on.
So, This was all part of.
Gay!
Sure is. This was all part of Russell T Davies' pitch to get a Doctor Who Star Trek crossover show started, because in another year, contract's going to run out with Disney, and he's going to need a new corporate sugar daddy to pay him. So it's going to be Doctor Who X Star Trek.
That doesn't work.
No, it does not, and it makes me want to kill myself.
Now let's get some food cringe.
I don't know. This is going to be mild compared to the shit we just heard him say. Anyways, you ready for this, Rune? This is watermelon chicken.
I mean, I'm watching it.
Chicken right inside the watermelon.
Okay. Okay. Carve out watermelon. That's normal. Okay. Okay. Seasoning a chicken. Okay. Okay. Putting the chicken in the watermelon.
Chicken. Snug. Right inside
Yeah.
the watermelon.
Putting the watermelon on top. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right on the smoker.
Okay.
No.
Not only is he putting a chicken inside of a watermelon, he's taking the time and effort to smoke it.
Just wait. Let him cook, literally.
What the smells weird.
Yeah.
Really? Thank you.
Watermelon chicken.
I would.
It's a watermelon.
I'd like to see the inside of that
I
chicken,
mean,
sir.
we
It does
should
look
have watched
properly
this
cooked.
during, we should have watched this during Black History Month, if we're being fair.
But I mean, it does look
Nice piece of
well
breast.
cooked.
Watermelon chicken.
not the
Beautiful.
outside.
No, that is
Super
not a
tender and
wrong
tastes
way to
like
cook the outside. Yeah. If you would click the second thing I have there, it's food cringe related. The thing underneath the Hollywood Reporter.
The
Trung Fan thing.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
Somebody who knows how to monetize the shit out of their 15 minutes of fame is making Haktua sauce. My first and only question for this business venture is, can you put that sauce on that thing? Which should be the motto, but also I need to know if the
Really
sauce
should.
is compatible for being put on the thing, because that is important. There are going to be people who are going to be doing that, so we need to know.
I mean, I love the fact that she ran with this so quickly.
I mean, there's probably somebody who had a food company and saw that she had an agent and said, I got an idea for your girl.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, you know, she started making like hats and shit like within a week. Like,
Good on her.
yeah. No, this is fantastic. I love it.
So what do you think about the Haktua sauce there, Ro?
I don't give a shit. I'm not going to eat it, and I don't think we should celebrate a chick whose claim to fame is I spit cum. I just don't care.
No,
I
she
really
doesn't
don't.
spit cum. No.
She spits first,
She
then
spits
makes
right
the
on
guy
the dick.
come.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I don't give a shit. If that's her accomplishment, if that's her claim to fame, there are people who will pay for that privilege.
I mean,
I'm not
yes,
one of them.
She's made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this claim to fame.
And that is sad to me.
I think it's impressive, but speaking of being drunk and saying stupid things
Look, I
in
can't
front of a
get
camera,
I can't get paid for spitting on dick. So
I mean, you
I
can.
don't think
I believe in you,
Uh-oh.
Aaron.
I I have concerns immediately looking at this.
If you're the kind of person who says ooh woo and then rates firearms based on mouthfeel, this is the drink for you.
So just that opening should sell this.
This is a fluffy floor finder. It'll help you find your nearest floor to collapse on. I'm going to show you how to make it. We're going to do a little bit of grenadine down in the bottom, and I really hope you enjoy that tiny bit of grenadine, because that right there, that's the only non-alcoholic ingredient here. Don't worry, still plenty sweet, still plenty good, but oh Lord, leaf on that floor. Going to do some limoncello down in the bottom there, followed by some sour apple pucker, which will cover up a lot of the alcohol. A little bit of raspberry liqueur, just a tiny splash of that in there, not too much, and some melon liqueur. At this point, you should be at a little over halfway full of the glass, which is good because that leaves plenty of room for your Everclear. We're just going to top that man all the way up to the top. This is a fluffy floor finder. Let's try it out. Cheers, guys.
So is the blindness free, or do I have to pay for that?
Technically, it's not wood alcohol, so you won't go blind. But
Are you sure?
Do you got any other good quality food, Cringe? Any
good quality?
Any good fluffy bunny?
I do have a fluffy bunny video, but I also have.
Is it just a picture of a tombstone?
I also have another steak recipe here.
Okay.
And the caption is, "This woman is trying to convince her husband to be a stay-at-home mom."
Oh no!
So
I run this. I have to put something together real quick.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I have concerns. So she didn't thaw the steak properly.
Right. The fact that she bought frozen steak for one.
What? Wait. What? No. No.
Oh.
No. That's how you get microplastics in your food.
She's already got kids. It's fine.
No.
So I've been buying mushrooms for like the last 3 weeks, with the intention of making this meal, and I kept putting it off. So, I have 3 different mushrooms, and I'm trying to figure out which one is spoiled and which one's the one I bought last week. So, option 1, option 2, option 3.
Mushrooms. Hold up.
Comments which one is better.
Hold up. Mushrooms don't go bad in a week. Your refrigerator.
But they might.
No, that's not how that works. As long as you keep them refrigerated.
My husband went back and watched my grocery haul for last week, and these are the good mushrooms. Like, they have like these weird lines. Is this normal?
What? Yes.
Come over here.
Also, she's just melting raw cheese in the bottom of her pan.
Yeah.
That's part of the mushroom.
That is part of the mushroom.
Those are.
I have no idea what that is.
She put a bunch of cheese in her frying pan, so she's. Oh no, that's a different frying pan. What? Why are you doing that with the cheese? Oh.
The chef's hat. It's cheesy potatoes, Larry. Come on.
That's.
You do not deserve the head condom of office, madam.
Oh.
That's some A1 steak sauce.
Oh. Oh.
So,
no.
So what do you think? Does she deserve to be a stay-at-home mom?
No. Oh, this video. Rune, you're about to feel uncomfortable.
Okay. I have an answer to this before we do this. I just made a thing for you guys because I care.
Okay. Well, let's see this thing that Rune made. Boop. Yes.
Please send that to me. I need to pass that along to some other people.
So pause for a moment. Please read the title of this video, Tarun.
Oh, okay. My housemate bet me 100 pounds I couldn't finish 66 pancakes. ASMR eating.
Well, okay, I want to start with, you've done this one correctly. You can only eat 40 pancakes. That's how many that Lex Luthor stole, and that's terrible.
That's all. Let's do it.
Execute order 66.
Pause. Go back for a second. 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 So either Stuffy Bunny or her editor has self-awareness. A little bit more. A little bit more. Hit play.
Execute order 66.
See that? See that? Somebody involved in the production of this video has achieved self-awareness.
Well, we know it's not her.
Look,
so.
look. The lore of the Stuffy Bunny cinematic universe is a complicated study.
Hit play. Now hit pause again. Her bed is in a Harry Potter alcove.
Yeah.
Is that where her uncle and aunt have put her so they don't have to see her do these sorts of things? While she waits for the owl that will tell her that she's going to Fatworts?
I still think Hogwarts works. I don't think you need to change the name.
You know what? You're right. You're right. Hogwarts absolutely does work. Also, Larry, you all right? You dying?
Yes.
Okay, so I have built my little pyramid. What's it called?
I want to know why she's wearing a Spider-Man costume.
It's also skin tight.
Needs lots of syrup.
Yeah, but just normal clothes on her are skin tight. Like that's
right.
You know.
Right.
But perverts want to see her in a fat Super Spider-Man suit eating pancakes.
Yes, these are buttermilk.
If you could speed through this a little bit.
All right, I want to be clear, by the way. I am a huge fan of pancakes. I can, in fact, eat 6 pancakes if I really try. But that's 6, and that's still too much, and I'm aware that that's too much.
Right. And you feel gross after eating 6 pancakes.
I do. I generally eat 1 plate of 3.
1 done, 65.
But occasionally, like when you're gonna get pancakes, like you might as well like get a big ass stack of them.
Look. I'm gonna be silly for a minute. Pause this. All right. My mom, before she lost her legs, back when I was a young person, would sometimes get a wild hair press. The money was good, she was in good mood, and she would make a country breakfast. And I do mean a country breakfast. So sausage links, bacon, pancakes, biscuits, the whole deal. Okay? You're damn right. When my mom made the big breakfast, I ate way too many fucking pancakes. Because anyone who has eaten mom's home-cooked food knows moms have that weird magic that makes it good.
Not mine.
I can't speak to your mom.
My mom's a terrible cook.
Well, look. My pancake recipe is my mom's pancake recipe. Okay? I make my mom's pancakes. They're real good. I can't eat a full thing of the pancakes I make. I can get like 3 meals out of one recipe setting of those pancakes.
Yeah.
And that's way too many pancakes for a single human being. Okay? I'm just saying, like, there were occasions where it's like, I shouldn't, fuck it, I'm having a second plate of those pancakes because they're that good. And yes, you do. You feel like you're going to die. You've got that food coma going on, but you're just laying there going, oh, God. That was so good. Because you're full of...
There's a little, like, country, like, diner thing here in my town. And, it like, they're cash only. Like, the same family's been running it for 50 years sort of thing. And if I'm going there, I'm going to get me a big-ass stack of pancakes, and I do that once every 8 months.
That's the thing. Every 8 months, it's like a treat. It's like a reward for putting up with all the rest of the shit you put up with.
Right.
You would never do this every day. You'd never do this every time you have pancakes. You'd never do this, on the regular, right? So, is there a context where some people eat mass quantities and know they shouldn't and they do it anyway? Yes. This, however, what Stuffy does is exploitative to her audience, and it is self-destructive to her colon, let alone her fucking imminent diabetes.
Well, there's a video on her channel of her saying that she had to go to the emergency room.
Yes.
It was not a video of her in the emergency room, though, which is why I would have to download that video.
Was it a video of her eating the emergency room? Stuffy Bunny's Halloween cannibalism episode live from the emergency room.
Well, and what's wild is there's that one guy that beard meets food, and he's like my size and like does those ridiculous food challenges.
But Stuffy Bunny went to the hospital because
holy shit, like how?
Yeah, she went to the hospital because if I remember, she had shortness of breath.
I can't imagine why.
Probably had a pancake stuck in her windpipe.
Oh. Also, she could eat like multiple pancakes in the same setting.
God.
If we could just make this a little faster.
The thing is I don't think she understands what ASMR is supposed to be, because this just sounds gross.
I mean, I'm also going at 2 times speed, so
it would sound gross even normal faster. Speed.
Okay, hold on. We gotta play that at like half speed. Okay. Or no, 0.25. We're doing 0.25.
Oh.
On some level, I'm glad we don't have the audience you think we would, because somebody would say we're fat shaming. And the thing is that I don't think we're so much fat shaming as we're having shame for people who do not.
And she does not have shame.
No, she does not. Okay.
If you could just manually forward us through a little bit more of the video.
Hold on. What? Hold on, let me get back to Man, that was like that transition. That felt like a Zack Snyder cut.
I know, right? Also, why isn't she drinking a big old thing of milk with these pancakes?
I mean, at least she's drinking water.
She's not drinking water. She's consuming fluid to absorb the pancakes. It's just gonna turn into a giant fat ball of grain in her stomach.
By the way, do you know what has happened to all of these internet fat activists and people who get fat on the internet like this for views?
Oh, they all die.
Diabetes
and
death?
They all die in their late 40s to early 50s.
Yeah.
So apparently, that Amberlynn Reed, you know who she is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So apparently her new girlfriend is a feeder whose previous girlfriend literally died like 3 months ago from eating too much.
So Aaron, can you just speed this to the last 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Just like scroll down to that.
Oh, she's gonna lose the bet. Man, I had faith in our girl here. I thought she could do it.
Yeah.
Something wrong with the sound here?
So,
I think it's the ASMR bit being made into popping
messed
noises
up.
because you made it
Because
2
I
times
fucked
fast.
around with the speed too much.
yeah. So, I think this is a good point to wrap up for tonight. I have to say, Joe having notes and reviewing an entire series, that was good content. It made me like this show
Good.
better.
We could almost cut that out into individual like episode like clips.
We could do that as YouTube shorts.
We could. That would require me to actually have time to edit, but I'll try.
And also not have a potato for a computer.
I can edit and upload shit. It's all right.
We need to make Ayrton an avatar for this that is just a potato with a light bulb in it.
I mean, I bet I could Google and find that.
I'm
Anyway.
100% sure you could.
So, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
And